we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for taking the time out to come and be here tonight. Welcome to West Bloomfield Middle School. We call it Abbott Campus because it is on the old Abbott campus. Don't worry about taking notes or screenshotting. We will be emailing this presentation to all of you. Just some housekeeping. Everyone's going to be muted. You're welcome to add questions or comments to the chat throughout this presentation, and we'll either be answering you privately, or we can address some common questions at the end. Remember, for this presentation, we don't have all the answers yet, but our goal is to give you as much information as possible to keep you informed and get your concerns addressed. So again, welcome. My name is Amy Hughes. I am the principal at West Bloomfield Middle School. A little bit about myself. I live in the district. I work in the district for the past 27 years. I was an assistant principal here for 4 years, taught science and math for 7 years, and this is my 16th year as principal. So, and then Lisa Graff.
Hi, thank you. Welcome, parents. My name is Lisa Graff, and I'm the associate principal here at West Bloomfield Middle School, and we are housed at the old Abbott Middle School campus. And I too live in the district and work in the district, and I have a son at the high school who actually came through Abbott Middle School when I was AP. So if any of your kids are dreading middle school, just say, what if I work there? What if I worked there when you were going there? So I can actually stop how bad they probably are going to feel about middle school, because middle school is a little bit of a drama kind of situation. But looking forward to having you all and being able to transfer all of our kids into the new building in a short period of time as well. So we'll be here with them next year, but then after that, we'll be in a brand new building, which we'll talk about too. And thanks for coming.
My name is Jennifer Bennett. I'm the principal of Lakers Online. This is my first year as administrator in the district. I've been an administrator this is my 9th year. And I have worked in West Bloomfield now for the 3rd year. And I'm really excited to be a part of this awesome team here that all goes above and beyond to support students. So I'm excited to be here and share information with you tonight.
My name is Morrison Borders. I've been in West Bloomfield now for 8 years, since 2012. I'm the associate principal for Lakers Online. My main focus with Lakers Online is the secondary school, so 6 through 12. Before coming to Lakers Online, I was an assistant principal at OMS, and I was a principal at OMS. I was in central office with pupil accounting and power school maintenance for a brief bit before I came back to Lakers Online in the fall.
As I was saying, there's so many awesome staff that support our middle schoolers, and you have a list here. We have our counselors like Ms. Mackenzie Begees, Mr. Steve Levitan, Mrs. Nancy Gelsey, Mrs. Susan Chang. And as you can see there, it's broken up by the alphabet, and then Mrs. Susan Chang is primarily with Lakers Online. We also have deans of instruction with Mrs. Stacy Weller and Mrs. Blaine McDowell, as well as social workers that support our students with Mrs. Jill Guanco and Mrs. Stacy Lusky. So what's nice about this setting it up in this way, our counselors are able to stay with your child for those 3 years and really be that go-to person, that constant throughout that time. And it's you know, a friendly face, somebody they can go to, they can meet with. And they'll actually be probably the first person that they meet from the middle school as the counselors will meet with our 5th graders. So as our 5th graders meet with our counselors, they will begin planning in February here, and we'll learn more about what middle school courses have to offer to them, and they'll help them plan. We also do a great deal of kind of that communication from their home building as 5th graders to the middle school. so we can meet their needs. And then what you'll see is a schedule available in August that will help your child know what the courses and what hours, and it's a pretty exciting time for them. It is, you know, their first time being able to have some freedom throughout and breaking up their day, going to different teachers. And we really have an awesome staff that really supports our students.
So what has pandemic teaching given us or taught us? We found some unexpected surprises this year that we want to keep for our scheduling next year. We've learned a lot about with our small class sizes and our communities, especially at the in-person learning, that 4 core teachers, the math, science, social studies, and language arts teachers, all sharing the same students. They really get to know those group of students. They really get to communicate with each other about if a student is struggling in one class, or they also struggle in the other class. They really get to deeply know their kids. And so we really like that community model. We haven't had that before. And so we're looking at keeping that next year in our model. And so if you're a parent of students that have gone through our building before, it may look a little bit different next year in terms of how we set up our schedule. And so what you've had for your students in the past may look different next year. And so we're actually working on that right now. We're putting committees together. We are working with, meeting with teachers and support staff, and we're gonna get some student input. And so as you may have some questions at the end of this presentation about what maybe some electives may look like, or what does other things look like, we may not know exactly yet because we're still working on that as a staff. We are planning next year for all in-person, full day, everyone back in the building. So we are looking at kind of taking a little bit of this model, but and putting it into next fall. But again, we're expecting, hopefully, all students back, full days, 5 days a week. So in terms of if you are a new to middle school, and this is your oldest child or your only child, and they're coming into 6th grade, what do we believe at the middle school level? We think that middle school promotes increased accountability and independence. So we want students to start taking responsibility for their learning and their personal decisions. We talk about the 4 C's in our district: collaborator, critical thinker, communicator, and contributor. And within all of our classes, we say, how are students working together? How are they communicating with each other? How are they learning, not just like in technology, but how to appropriately speak to one another? How do they think critically and solve problems? And what does the finished product look like? And so in every one of our classes, the 4 C's are really important. We also believe that middle school should be a safe place for students to discover and develop their interests and their passions. I love this slide, and it's been with us for quite a few years now. And again, if this is your first middle school student coming through, a common comment that I get from parents is, my child never acted this way until they came to your school. And if you look at some of how the mind of a middle schooler works, the brain growth that occurs between the ages of 10 to 15, and we really have them from 10 to 14, is the greatest in human life. So if you imagine your newborn child from 0 to 2 and what they can do at 0 months old compared to 2 years old, that amount of growth you don't see, that's the kind of growth that you see in middle school. So what we start out in 6th grade, there's a totally different human being when they leave us in 8th grade. I also love the one that adolescents, middle schoolers, misinterpret emotions and instructions up to 40% of the time. And so our teachers, especially maybe our newer teachers, will say, I've repeated that 7 times today. Yep, and you're probably gonna have to repeat it another 7 times before they get it. So if at home you're saying, I already told him to brush his teeth, take down the laundry and then go to bed, and maybe he got to the point where he has his toothbrush in his hand and he can't remember what to do after that. That's common in middle schoolers. Something to look forward to, obviously, that we've lived this life forever. So we love this unique age. We love the energy of these kids. Most of us, I would say all of us that are staffed in our middle schools are, once we start teaching in middle school, we never leave, because once you're in middle school, there's no other place you want to be. So what your kids do at home, I know they drive you crazy, but I think when they walk through our doors, they're extremely appropriate. They love being here, and we love teaching middle school and being with our middle schoolers. So, Jen?
I think Mr. Borders was going to share a little bit
Mr.
about our
Borders.
lessons and what it looks like, instruction looks like in Lakers Online.
Right. So, as some of you are, already enrolled in Lakers Online Elementary School, and we all had experience on distance learning, that is what Lakers Online is. We follow a block schedule this year, where students engage in both synchronous and asynchronous learning. Obviously, the synchronous comes through a live Zoom, where students are interacting with other students, they're interacting with their teachers. And then there's also a blend of asynchronous work that they're doing on their own. Our hope with Lakers Online is that students learn to be self-paced learners. They learn what they need to focus on to be successful. And then we're there to support them in that endeavor. We're going to provide all the support and direction that we can. We're going to support each kid in the specific way that kid needs to be supportive or supported, but just in a virtual environment. So in a snapshot, that is what Lakers Online is. And you guys have all had experience with it, but our teachers at the middle school are strictly Lakers Online teachers. The only teachers that we share are some elective teachers who will go back and forth between in-person and Lakers Online.
This information just talks about our class sizes right now and our enrollment. Currently, this school year, 2020-2021, we have 622 students at the middle school. That's both South End students, Orchard Lake Middle School students who came to Abbott and Abbott combined. And the reason we actually have less students this year in the building than we did last year, because we have many of our middle schoolers who have chosen to go to Lakers Online. So right now we have 186 sixth graders, 219 seventh graders, and 217 eighth graders. Next year projections are around the same, a little bit more sixth graders, 204, and then our seventh and eighth graders kind of move up. And then depending on how many Laker Online students come back to the building, we'll change that number, but we don't expect it to be much bigger than it is right now. Our class sizes, because we are in a hybrid and half our students come in the morning and half in the afternoon, our class sizes average around anywhere from 10 to 13 kids in a class. Next year, we're probably looking at anywhere from 28 in maybe a social studies class to sometimes we have up to 33 in an algebra class. This is just for those of you who have never been inside the Abbott campus before, our building is basically a square with the cafeteria in the center, and then we have A, B, C, D halls that go around. And at the very front of the building, we have the office and our fine arts hallway with band, strings, and choir in that hallway. Parent pickup and drop off is off of D Hall, which is off of Commerce Road. That's the building right now. We'll be in this building one more year next year until the new West Bloomfield Middle School, which is being built right in back of the Orchard Lake Middle School, will be ready in the fall of 2022. So a short year and a half from now, your incoming sixth graders will be the seventh graders in that building. And if you look at the kind of the blueprint here, this is the first floor. It's actually, it's a two-story building with the back instructional pods being the second story. So if you look at the top of the screen, you'll see those classrooms. Those are kind of called pods. And then there's a second floor with 3 more pods on top of that. You'll see that the eye center goes directly down the center of the building. To the left is the gymnasium. To the right is our fine arts with choir, theater, and band. It's an incredible building. It's if you haven't driven by and seen it yet, it is going up quickly, but we're excited. We're excited to get the students in there. And again, your current 5th graders will be the 7th graders in that building. Hard to imagine they'll be 7th graders, but it is a blink of an eye once they get in middle school. Our current schedule right now, we start the day at 7:50, where students have to be in their seats, and the bell rings at 2:42 at the end of the day. So next year, because we are kind of anticipating a little bit higher traffic flow, we're going to open up our doors at 7 a.m. so parents can drop off. Buses will usually get there starting around 7:25, but we're going to allow parents to drop off their students at 7 a.m. They'll come into the cafeteria where they can have breakfast, and we will let them out of the cafeteria at 7:20, where they can start heading to their first hour classes. We ask that if you are driving your students, that you pick them up no later by 3:15, unless they're in tween time or they're in an athletic activity after school. We just don't have the staff to watch middle schoolers after school. So it is important that they are picked up by 3:15. We will have all this information to you in paper copies, online, the tween time information if you want to have your students stay. Tween time ends at 6 p.m. It's for a very nominal fee. And then the Lakers Online school schedule, Mr. Borders.
Yep. So what you're looking at right here is the current Lakers Online schedule. You see that we have a block schedule. So students go to 3 classes a day. Wednesdays are asynchronous days, just like they currently are. Do me a favor though, do not take this schedule as gospel, right? We are always learning what works best. And when we find a model that will work better and better serve our students, we're going to go ahead and move to that model. Now, what I can guarantee you is that your classes will be online, right? 100% online all day. Will it look like this exactly? Maybe, maybe not, right? This was our first go at rolling out Lakers Online and what that schedule will look like. If you just look at the bell schedules of OMS and Abbott over the years, they've changed almost, not every year, but I'd say every 5 years, you'll see a different bell schedule because we found a different system that works, or we're trying to incorporate different things into our day. So this is the bell schedule for this year. I would anticipate that it'll be similar, but I think there's going to be more opportunities for students to explore their learning outside the confines of, straight in front of their screen, face to face with the teacher via Zoom. So that's what it's going to look like next year.
So regardless of where you are, whether you're Lakers Online or you're in the West Bloomfield Middle School, new building, old building, communication is key to success. Power School, make sure your information is up to date. That is your email addresses, your phone numbers. You'll be getting broadcast emails through Power School. We push them out from the building level. They're pushed out at the district level. I think it's important also to stay in touch with teachers. The teachers do have web pages as well as Canvas pages that you'll be able to log into and see what's going on. And you can always email them. Mrs. Hughes and I both have Twitter accounts that we post more fun things going on in the building. So we don't do a lot of information sending out with Twitter, but a lot of fun things. But again, if there's a issue that is happening in a classroom, talk to the teacher. A counselor is kind of a new person to elementary folks. So we know that we'll have to kind of explain to you what their roles are, but let's just say your child's having an issue in 3, 4, 5 classes, as opposed to you running around trying to talk to all those teachers. The counselor can be that go-to person. The counselor is there for social emotional things. They can also help if there's a financial issue in the house and you need some support with that. They can help you with guidance with that. They also help with outside referrals as well as academic support, career planning. They do all our testing. They're really amazing people. You'll get to know your counselor very, very well. We do give kids paper agendas when they start school. We encourage them to write things in their agenda, which is kind of funny because everybody really uses their phone now for that, but we do encourage that as a means of communication as well. And we have parent meetings, so we don't need to wait until everything is in the trash can before we get you guys together with your teachers face to face. So we're hoping to be able to do a lot more of that next year when this COVID crisis moves on, hopefully. But it's very important that your information is up to date so the communication can stay current. And again, welcome back, right? Already to the fall. We haven't even finished the school year, but we're planning to try to continue with some of the rich experiences we had pre-COVID, and that is Bridge 6, which is a summer program that bridges 5th grade and 6th grade, helping students navigate the change to middle school. It's a summer program. There's a small fee, and we'll talk about that more in the spring. 6th grade orientation is another experience where kids will come in the building and get their locker and get their planners and their schedule and walk around. We're hoping to be able to have that face-to-face. Athlete night is something that we do. Now, let me say for athlete night, if you're online at Lakers Online or physically coming into the building, athlete night is for everyone. So whether or not if you're a middle school student in West Bloomfield School District, you can participate in middle school athletics. So in 6th grade, we don't have a lot of athletic events for 6th graders. It's really 7th and 8th graders that we have tryouts and we have competitive teams. We compete. Our league is called ComSAC. It's the Central Oakland League. And we compete against schools all over the county. And we'll go through a little bit more of that in athlete night, but I want to make sure that you know that whether or not your student is online or face-to-face, they're invited to participate in athletics as a player on the middle school team. 7th and 8th grade jumpstart. So those of you who are sitting out there saying, I'm a STEAM parent who's maybe coming in to West Bloomfield for 7th or 8th grade, know that we do have something called Jumpstart, which is a similar thing to orientation in the fall. We're hoping to do that face-to-face as well. And then Lakers Online will have like an online schedule rollout and an online orientation for their families. And we will also hopefully have tween time. We have tween time this year, before and after care, because we have the half-day plans going on right now. We're hoping to continue offering that as well. Mrs. Hughes, do you want to talk about electives?
So again, for those of you parents who have had students go through our building, the electives pretty much are staying the same. The levels may look different, but the 6th grade elective opportunities next year are going to be band, strings, which are full year courses, choir, theater are year or semester courses. And when I say semester, it's from September until the end of January. You know, we are coming to the end of our semester right now. Phys ed, art, STEAM, which is, we use Project Lead the Way. STEAM is an application process which closes February 2nd. That is on our website right now. Computer class, we have an amazing computer teacher right now. And world language starts in 7th grade. And right now we offer Spanish. Our electives teachers are busy working on a presentation for you, whether it's going to be a Zoom or something that they just send out with a link. It's going to be on February 18th. That'll be put out at 6:30. And again, we're deciding whether that's going to be live or it's going to be recorded and sent out. But the goal is to just learn about the elective class offerings. You can see the variety of experiences that students will be able to have, expectations in all of these electives. And again, a link's going to be emailed to all of the rising 5th graders and 5th grade families in February, late February. So math is always kind of a hot topic. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about our middle school math sequencing, which is the same as at Lakers Online also. So the regular math curriculum is, we have Math 6. So if your student comes in as a 6th grader, they're in Math 6, then Math 7th, they take their 2nd year, and Math 8 is our pre-algebra, and that sets them up to take algebra in Algebra 1 in 9th grade at our high school. For those of your students who are already in an accelerated math, when they come in as a 6th grader, they take Compacted 1, which is really 2 years or a year and a half in math in one. So Compacted 1 is the entire 6th grade math curriculum and half of the first half of the Math 7 math curriculum. Compacted 2 starts at the second half of the Math 7 curriculum and then finishes with the entire 8th grade pre-algebra curriculum, so that in 8th grade, they do take Algebra 1. Now, if your students are already on track and in an accelerated math class, they'll just jump right into compacted math when they come here. You do have the opportunity as the 5th graders can test in the spring to jump into accelerated math so that they can start in compacted math. That is, we test, we give you the results of that test, and you'll be, if you meet a certain criteria, a letter is mailed saying that you've made it into accelerated math. If not, you get a letter saying that at this time your student didn't meet the criteria, so we're going to put them in 6th grade math. But I'm here to tell you, I am not a gatekeeper for math. If you know your student and you know that you're going to maybe provide some extra help at home, you know your student is a really hard worker, and just with a little extra help that they're going to be able to do fine in compacted 1, we do allow students to be waived in. I will say, experience has been students who waive in typically sometimes are not as successful in that, but we keep parents communicated along the way. And I will also say that if your student is in regular math, they can be just as successful and get into just of the top colleges as the other the advanced math students. So that opportunity again to test comes in the spring, and that's both for Lakers Online and in-person school.
So another opportunity is our STEAM classes, and Mrs. Hughes alluded to it. It's Project Lead the Way is the vehicle we use to provide STEAM classes. And STEAM is the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So that's how we break that down. What does it look like for kids? So students will take a series of classes beginning with design and modeling. And if they enjoy it, they can keep going on to other classes as well. And then continue at the high school as well in engineering. So our sequence for the middle school generally is a design and modeling class. We also have the CSIM, which is computer science for innovators and makers, followed by the app creator class, which is STEAM 2, and medical detectives, which is STEAM 3. Each one of these classes is a semester, so it's a half a year. And you do need to test. So our families who are applying or have applied for STEAM, you will take the beginning class next year if your student does well in the assessment and comes to West Bloomfield Middle School. And then every year after that, you can choose to take the next STEAM class or choose to take something else if your love changes. But the STEAM classes are amazing. They do continue from year to year. And in the high school, if you continue, they have engineering all the way through your senior year with a capstone project that you're actually in the field of engineering working and not getting paid, but the students are in the field, which is really great. The app creator class, I've heard great things from the kids. They basically are analyzing and developing solutions to authentic problems through a mobile app development process, which is wonderful. The design and modeling, our kids did, like they would think of a problem and then solve it and make something. So we had some students create actual toys for students who are physically challenged, which is an amazing experience as well. And the medical detectives, I'll be honest, it's new. We have not offered that before. We're very excited. This coming up, this will be the first time that we've offered the medical detectives class, which is STEAM 3, and it builds. So you can't just jump to STEAM 3 as a 6th grader. You got to take the classes, but that's a really exciting one that we're looking forward to seeing too. This is kind of the timeline about, so if you, for STEAM and school of choice, associate school of choice. So if you've registered on our website to be assessed for STEAM entry, you could be doing it as a resident because you want your student to have access to those STEAM classes. You could be doing it as a non-resident because you want to use STEAM as a vehicle to enter enrollment in the West Bloomfield School District. So this is just a rough timeline of what that looks like. Right now, the STEAM application for all families is on the school district website, and I can actually send that out too when I send the link for this. And you must apply. It's just a quick Google form collecting some demographic data. That'll close on February 2nd. From there, we move into the testing. I'm assuming the testing will probably be some online experience with testing as opposed to the face-to-face, which we've done in the past. School of choice lottery for people who are just applying to get in the district through school of choice and not STEAM is February 17th. All families are notified of acceptance, whether it's a STEAM or just school of choice or both, the beginning of March, because we really work on that registration process, getting our families in, getting them registered with our registrar central office in March, because we really want to look at scheduling classes and doing staffing. And then we'll have a second window opening that will also include an avenue for students to attend Lakers Online and additional STEAM testing again in the summertime. So for families who maybe aren't sure. This is what I would say though, as a resident person, my son took the test and he ended up in STEAM and he took the classes and he enjoyed it. And he's a junior at the high school and he's still doing, he's enjoyed it. But every year we'd have the discussion, do you want to continue or do you not want to continue? So to me, it's kind of like a party. And the only way you get an invitation is to test. So I would say test. And then if you make it, that's great. What a great decision. You decide if you want to go or if you don't want to go. But if you don't test, there's no decision. So I would say it's better to test and get that data and then make a choice about whether or not you want your student to take the class than be left out in the cold. Because we really only do the STEAM school of choice window in the wintertime. That's it. Once it closes, and we will not open up again until next year. So I think that's important. Am I doing fifth grade timeline? I can't remember. I can do fifth grade timeline. So if you're a current fifth grader at one of our elementary schools right now, we're going to be sending our counselors to your fifth grade classrooms to do some in-person meeting and actual pass out some paperwork. If you're a Lakers Online fifth grade family, that experience will be given online with our 4 counselors will be going to those fifth grade classrooms virtually, and there'll be some electronic paperwork. I think I was supposed to update this slide. The initial choice, sorry, I'll update it before we send it to you. The initial choice for whether or not you want to be online at Lakers Online as a 6th grader, or whether or not you want to come to the physical building, that needs to be made in March. We will have opportunities for families to change in placement because we understand that the pandemic does influence some of those concerns, but we'll want an initial commitment from families in mid-March about whether or not you're looking to go online or whether or not you're coming to the physical building. Again, we'll be flexible and we'll be able to make some changes all the way until July 9th, but we need to start scheduling and staffing. We need to know by mid-March. So we'll be sending out electronic forms as well as paper for registration.
So West Bloomfield Middle School office contact information. Again, this is going to be emailed out to you, so I'm not going to read it to you. I will say that we have some amazing secretaries in the front office. Kathy Matt came to us from Orchard Lake Middle School, and Ms. Bringardner and Ms. Morton have been at the Abbott campus for many, many years. So if you have already had a student come through, you will recognize their faces. They're always happy to help. But that is the main number and the safe line. If you call your student in for an absence, that information is also on that slide. So we'll get that to you.
And of course, we have some of these things listed on our website as well, but we also have contact information for Lakers Online. Our wonderful administrative assistant, Amy Tucker, can answer your questions. If she doesn't have them, she'll find those answers for you. And of course, our counselor, Susan Chang. So we do have some questions in the chat. I've been trying to answer them as quickly as I can. But one of the questions to come up, and I bet there's other people that have this question as well, a parent is concerned about maybe learning loss due to COVID. And I know that we are receiving funding to support that students that are at a loss due to COVID. So I know that there are some opportunities we are currently providing through our Student Academic Support Program, which is an evening tutoring program via Zoom for anyone who wants to sign up K-12. I can put that, we can maybe put that back out afterwards as well. If you want that, please added your name to the chat, and I can directly send that to you, as well as there are summer school opportunities. We were meeting today and trying to utilize a combination of active outdoor community ed activities as well as academics. So I know that there's going to be information out to our community in the next couple of weeks. But that's, does anybody else want to add on to opportunities for maybe intervention for next year?
I'll add on to that a little bit. So just again, we do articulate with the 5th grade teachers on every single student. So if we notice that there is a need for perhaps maybe a math intervention class, we call it math lab, then we'll create a class for those students. If we notice that we have a lit success class for students who are maybe struggling in reading in their content areas. So we, based on the data, based on what we see from the 5th grade teachers, based on their NWA scores, we do create classes, intervention classes to help with that. So, and then again, like Ms. Bennett said, we are looking at some summer school opportunities through federal monies that we're going to be getting, and more to come on that. That is in the works. So, I will say, yeah, go ahead, Ms. Bennett.
I was just going to say, we also had a question about size of the building and whether or not all of our students fit in the building, as well as if Lakers Online will be around for next year. And I was going to address the Lakers Online. As Mr. Borders had mentioned, we are evolving our practice. We know that online learning meets the needs of certain families, and we will be reaching out to families and kind of tweaking our model. So we do want to provide that service to families for the next school year. So that is going to be available to you, and we'll be sharing more information about that as we firm up what that instructional model looks like. And then we know that do you want to address the space of the building if combining schools?
Yeah, so I'll address the space. So Abbott in the early 2000s had over 900 students in the building, and we were able to house all students. At this point, we do have empty classrooms in the building that we know we'll be filling next year, but we're confident that we're going to be able to house all the students that want to come back to the building next year. Our brand new middle school can house up to 1,200 students. And so we know that we can prepare for that, but we're confident that next year we'll be able to house all of our middle schoolers that want to come back to the building. And next year, yes, we're looking at a 5-day school week, all in person next year. That's what we are planning for. And to be honest, we planned for that this year too. So, but honestly, things are looking up and numbers are looking good. So that's our plan for next year. I want to address the magnet question because we do get that every single year. We do not have an accelerated magnet program in the middle school. We have never had that. We do have, for our advanced students in math, we do have a place for that. And then the students are put in language arts, science, and social studies with all the other students. I think the difference between elementary teachers and middle school teachers is our middle school teachers are highly qualified in their specific content areas. So as an elementary teacher, I may teach math, science, social studies, language arts, all 4 subjects. But when they come to middle school, our teachers are experts at their content areas. And so they really are able to address those needs with students. And I will say, we articulate with every 5th grade teacher. And so we may say, hey, this student needs a challenge, needs some rigor. And so we are very purposeful and intentional on where we place students. So, and again, we work individually with parents and families. If when they get into middle school, they feel that something's too hard, something's too easy, and we go from there. So, but we do not have a magnet middle school program.
There's also been a few questions about the STEAM exam. So in the past, the district actually gave a specific exam for STEAM, but now that the district has a consistent testing model with the NWEA, the district uses the NWEA scores of our in-district students. So students do not have to test again. They simply have to apply, and then the district looks at their NWEA scores. So the reason that we have to test, quote unquote, test in to the STEAM program is that's also how students test into the district for school of choice. And per state law, if we run a program that is open for school of choice, our in-district students have to meet the same requirements as our out-of-district students. That's not a West Bloomfield Board of Education policy. That's not a Abbott or a West Bloomfield Middle School or a West Bloomfield thing. That's actually a state law when it comes to people accounting. So in-district students, you only have to sign up for the STEAM application. We'll make sure that we send that out here in the coming days. There's not an additional test that you have to take because students are already taking it. And we will use the latest NWEA test. So we won't take the one that you did in the fall, right? Because usually kids progress through the year and they get better and better on their test as they go. So we'll take that best number. It's usually, the district does its best to use the spring number, but that also depends on when we actually give that assessment based on the STEAM window. So we will send that application out so everyone can sign up, and we'll kind of just go from there.
Raf, do you want to address this, the teacher-student ratio, or through a scheduling lens? Or I can. Yeah, so student-teacher ratio. So we could have, we're very intentional with keeping our ELA classes kind of low. So we like to have our ELA classes around, 25 to 28. Sometimes our accelerated math classes can be higher. They can be up to mid, 33. But I'd say our average class size is probably 28 to 30 across the board. We can have some classes of 22 because it's a weird fourth hour or something. And then, but I would say on average, our classes are around 28 to 30.
There's also a question about the pods and how that looks like with students being, whether or not the students stay with that 4 pod of students. If you could address that.
So in the new building, yes, so we've kind of started that this year with our communities, where again, our 4 core teachers share a certain amount of students. And so we're looking at those communities living in those pods. So those students will be in those families for their core classes, and then they'll go out for electives. And we're working on what that looks like right now, actually.
We also have a question about on a typical school year, what maybe times and how many classes would happen in a traditional middle school.
So can't wait to get back to a typical school year and a typical school day. So in a typical school day, students will take their 4 core classes, math, science, language arts, social studies, and then they'll have 2 electives. So if they're year-long electives, they get 2. If they're semester courses like computer, art, gym, and maybe a choir or theater, those could be semester classes. They'd get 4 of those in a year. And but I'm going to clarify, because we are looking at doing things differently. And so it may be 10-week courses next year. We're in the process of having those conversations. We want to make sure that we are, our electives are rich experiences for students, and that they get as many as they possibly can. Because middle school is all about exploring and finding out what they like, what they want to continue in high school. And so that's a typical school day that we've had in the past 5 years. What it could look a little different next year.
Okay, I did gather all the questions. If we missed one of your questions, I did take it and I've addressed it. We've addressed it or we have it, and we will reach out to you. Feel free to send us your email address or phone number, and we can follow up if there's any questions we did not address. If you still have those questions, but I think that's a wrap. So thank you for joining us tonight. We hope that we've given you a lot of information and of course, conveyed our excitement for starting another school year with you and your child. And again, our information will be available on our website as well as emailed out. So if you need to view this again and reference it,